Ozu is where it all starts.
Ozu?
Yasujiro Ozu, the Japanese director.
Oh.
Of post-war dramas.
I see. I don't know these people.
He kind of makes films about everyday... He made films, I should say, about everyday life in post-war Japan.
Hmm.
Kind of the changes in generations between parents and their children.
Now, are these in their country of origin popular or art house type movies? Or popular art house movies?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. I think Ozu was popular at the time.
These like the Michael Bays of their time?
Not quite, in all honesty.
Okay.
But I mean, like, there were years that he won the... I don't know how to pronounce... He won, like, their, cinema... I think, like, Jinpo or something award.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He worked in the genre of, like,
so they would be known
films.
names.
Yeah.
Because, like, at least in the U.S., like, these sound like films that would be considered art house films.
They are considered art house here.
Yeah, and so people don't really know art house directors that well.
They're represented on, like, Criterion here. Okay. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like Kurosawa is more well known.
Right.
Because he did, like, action films.
Yeah.
Ozu did domestic dramas, like home dramas. Women's pictures, essentially, was the genre.
Mm.
They're called, like, Shomen Geki or something like that, like middle-class stories. Completely different than this, but there's a mundanity, like, in this game.
Yeah.
It's not that different, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's famous, like, Ozu's, like, one of the, like, his stylistic tics is, like, pillow shots, they're called, which are shots of, like, exterior environments. Like, he would take like 1 or 2 seconds on a clothesline, 1 or 2 seconds on the like the sea, 1 or 2 seconds on a mountain or something.
Then
like
I definitely think that if that's
Mm-hmm.
the kind of thing that you appreciate, you should watch Upstream Color, because it is.
Yeah, I've been wanting to see that. Yeah,
it's on Netflix.
Yeah, it is.
That's where I watched it.
I've been wanting to show you guys an Ozu, but I've just been hesitant to do it.
You gotta get a night when we're very awake, I think.
Yes.
Because I struggled with Upstream Color to stay awake. Because it's also like just soothing.
Yeah, it is. It is. It absolutely is. I mean, like honestly, one of the things that appeals, I think, in Ozu films is there's just little things that recur film to film.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. People talking about the weather or something like that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, John Ford Westerns, too. Like, characters or actors recur. It's the same company, like, for 15 years.
Mm-hmm. Reminds me, too, of how... I'm sure I did it with this game when I was a kid, but I don't remember. But, like, games like this where you kind of... grinding games...
Mm-hmm.
I've been known to fall asleep playing.
Yeah, man.
That happened to me in Final Fantasy X often.
Mm-hmm.
Because that game not only requires a little bit of grinding, but also to do like post-game stuff, it just is grinding all the time. So I do remember having that experience with that game, and I have had it with other games too, where it's just like the process itself is so, I don't know, ingrained in subconscious. I had that with Rock Band, where I got like, I don't know, so comfortable playing that game that I would fall asleep in the middle of the song. Which is really weird.
That is weird.
If you've never had that experience, it sounds very bizarre. Like, for most people, I think, who have played Rock Band at, like, parties and on Easy and stuff, and it was always, like, such a concentrated, focused thing. But if you get really comfortable doing stuff, and then you're not playing on the hardest difficulty possible, but, like, maybe one below of what is actually challenging you, you're just doing it for fun, to listen to music or whatever, it becomes just this, I don't know... very, like, zen-y, trancey, fall-asleepy, meditative thing.
See, I don't know what term to use, but I feel like there's, like, that's kind of the appeal of grinding games like this.
Yeah, that and incremental games, they just sort of occupied the same space, where it's just, like, you do the same thing over and over, and it's just, I don't know. Soothing sounds like such a weird word to me to describe this. It is. Because it makes you sound infantile.
Well, but the phrase that people use for some of the cinema I'm talking about is contemplative cinema.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It's obviously a completely different medium, completely different approach. You know what I mean, like to something like this. But I wouldn't think that that's an alien word to use to describe it, especially now. I think that article, when I was talking about slowing down time, the article I was reading about it talked about books in particular as a medium. When they first appeared, I think there was some quote from Samuel Johnson saying something like, people just like they're printing books faster than people can read them, and they're just like, they're kind of disposable garbage that people use. But now it's the complete opposite. Like, people read to slow down their daily life.
Exactly. Yeah.
So in a sense, like, I don't know, books are something reclaimed. Or just that the attitude towards them has changed.
Well, that was, I was on for those of you at home, I was on a cruise very recently on my honeymoon. And one of the things that we spent a lot more time doing on the cruise than we normally do at home was reading. Because it was a way to kind of slow down time and enjoy yourself. And, like, enjoy the scenery and stuff. And the environment. And that was really nice. It was a real change of pace. I go through periods where I read a lot. And then I was kind of on a downswing before I went on the cruise. And then on the cruise I read almost 2 complete books, which for me is like a lot for a few days. Especially a few days filled with other activities as well. So
that's really cool though, man.
Yeah, it was a nice way to kind of just like extend that time together.
And here's another slowdown mechanism.
Yep.
Honestly, yeah. The kind of central thesis of this article I was reading was that modern life, despite our like labor-saving devices, actually people generally, especially because the proliferation of potential experiences with streaming media and the internet, makes us feel like we have so many things to do.
That has often been my experience, especially coming back from the cruise. I've been struggling with having too many things demanding my attention, especially on my computer.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to find ways to cut things out. Like, I have a lot of YouTube subscriptions. And I'm kind of realizing that some of them are just not adding much. And I've noticed that over time with YouTube is, for a long time I watched, some people may be familiar with Howtobasic, which was it's a comedy channel where a dude records in first person terrible how-to videos that are like not actually teaching you how to do something. Like, it's like how to make a chicken pot pie, and he just like takes raw chicken and stuffs it into a loaf of bread and like throws it into the oven and like annihilates his kitchen. And it's a total sloppy mess, and it's really funny the first couple times. Then I realized that I'd watched like 50 of them, and I was watching them as they came out, and it was just like no longer funny. And I don't know if that's necessarily the fault of the channel or just the fault of losing that engagement, but it's like I was still spending time for a long time watching those videos and not actually being entertained. And so it was, eventually I did unsubscribe. It was like I can't. If I see it in my inbox, I feel like it's a to-do list thing, and I will feel obligated to watch it. So I'm just like trying to get away from things that are sort of empty experiences like that.
Yeah, man.
I'd say the first couple are not empty. They definitely are novel and funny and interesting, and then after that it's like, okay. And there's other stuff like that. I'm reaching that point with we play a little bit of Magic the Gathering, Corey and I, and the lead designer of that game is Mark Rosewater, and he has a Tumblr where he answers questions from players, and he answers like 100 questions a day.
I don't know how he does it, honestly.
And for a while I was reading all of them, and now I have a backlog of several hundred, and it's like, I don't know that I can just sit here and read them all for an hour. Like, it's not adding much to me anymore.
Yeah.
So just stuff like that. Because I am so behind on my games.
Yeah.
And I'm more interested in spending time on that, but it's like I feel obligated to keep up with the stuff that updates daily.
Yeah.
The games are static. They're just there. Like, they don't change if I don't play them for a while, but...
Right.
The feeds do, and the YouTubes do.
I think that's part of what's fun about this, is kind of stabilizing.
Yeah.
Plus, we're both just sitting here.
We're
cool,
sitting
man.
on a couch.
I like that, man.
Playing this game. We have cat.
We have a cat.
There's another cat somewhere. He was with us for a while.
He was. I mean, because I know we've just been repeating a lot of the same things, but... It's nice to just spend time.
And we're glad that you're spending it with us, dear viewer.
Listen to me blab about nothing.
It's about film.
About film. It's my major passion.
Definitely.
You know, I've taken a major break this December.
Yeah.
I watched like 2 or 3, which is not a lot for me.
It is few films for you.
It is. I'm gonna jump back into it in January, I think.
Are you gonna...
Tsai Ming Liang.
Excuse me?
Tsai Ming Liang?
What is... Who is
Goodbye
that?
Dragon Inn director.
Oh, okay.
I have at least 3 of his films sitting at home waiting to watch.
I see.
Rebels of the Neon God, The River, The Hole.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you actually own these.
I do
They're
own
just
these.
waiting for you.
I have collected them, yeah.
Well, as long as it doesn't conflict with our recording
Not
agreement.
at all. Not at all.
We have committed. We record on Friday nights.
Like this night. This very night.
This very night is Friday night. This is the Friday, the day after Christmas,
and if
here
you're
we
listening
are.
to this on a different day, your day has magically been transmuted into a Friday.
Welcome to Friday. Thank God it's Friday.
It's Friday. TG.
TGIF.
TGF. Thank goodness Friday.
Thank good
Is
it's Friday.
Friday.
Thank good is Friday.
Tell Jeff it's Friday.
The unconventional GEOFF spelling.
Yeah, that's correct. Tell Greg. Tell Gary.
Tell Gary it's Friday.
Tell Gary it's Friday.
That dude just cannot keep the calendar straight.
You really cannot. We have pummeled so many magicians.
Yeah, they keep putting us to sleep. But luckily, they tend to put us to sleep and then try to punch us, which is a terrible plan.
Man, there's just... I honestly, I've been struggling to put it into words for like the longest time. I appeal for these games. Still have not done it, but I hope that maybe by the end of 3 years of this gameplay...
Well, that's the thing, is that, we'll have plenty of time to elucidate our opinions.
There's something just really unique about the experience. Like, I mean, there's a lot of people who talked about classic JRPGs, or even new JRPGs that kind of replicate the grinding scheme, and you know what I mean?
Bravely Default.
Bravely Default, though it has controls for it, you know what I mean? Like,
that's true. It does streamline that experience tremendously.
You still grind. But
you do have to still grind.
But I honestly feel like the central question is, like, I mean, like, what you want out of the game. Whether grinding in itself is a worthwhile...
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why I didn't finish Bravely Default, is because I did not feel the grinding was worth it.
No.
Especially because it demands so much of you. And I think it might demand more grinding from you than this game does. Like, to complete this game doesn't require as much grinding as it does to finish that game.
There's something appealing in this game's simplicity.
That's true. Bravely Default has a lot of options, and it's like finding weird, like, almost cheating ways to bypass the grinding by making the fighting as efficient as possible. Whereas this game dispenses of that and just like says your numbers need to beat these numbers.
Yeah.
Do they? And they will eventually, but you know, you might have to compare your numbers against lower numbers in the meantime.
It's just the feeling too of being in that dungeon and coming back out here.
Yeah, that feels good every time.
It does.
Right?
It really
That's
does.
the thing, is that I feel like a lot of the value of these older games is that visceral experience of just like, oh.
I really think you need to approach a game like this with a more like a childlike mindset. You know what I mean? Like,
you definitely need to allow yourself to feel the things that it is supposed to make you feel, which is like, I am powerful now.
Yeah.
I have escaped the darkness. You know, it's a little more primal.
Yeah.
A little bit less, you know.
It's honestly just a sense of adventure and wonder, I feel like.
Yeah, and less like watching a TV show or movie and like following the actions of characters separate from yourself.
No. I think a lot of it is what your brain brings to it.
Definitely.
I mean, because the initial thing for me is just this world is so huge, it makes me want to populate it. Or just imagine what could potentially be out there.
And I think definitely my experience is more colored by the fact that I've beaten it and I've seen it all. Like, I know what's all out there somewhere deep in my mind. I have memories of where things are and what there is and isn't.
The thing is, I feel like I could see an appeal in that too. It's like you've mapped it. It's part of you.
Well, that's part of why I can play Dark Souls forever. That's why Dark Souls is my desert island game. It's also a game like Rock Band or like Final Fantasy X that I have fallen asleep playing because I'm so comfortable playing it. But like, yeah, Dark Souls is one of those games where you get to exhibit complete and utter mastery, and that is something that is very pleasing to do. It is a really great feeling to be able to just clown an area, you know. Which this game does by, you numbering it out. And Dark Souls is actually just straight skill. Yeah. Like, it's a thing that you learn to do personally, mentally, physically.
I think the mastery is just different here. The mastery is like, it's a degree of control you have over what's happening. Here it's I'll control where and when I grind.
I'll control what risk I expose myself to.
Right. That rhythm is actually much slower here, but you're in control. And there's a pleasure in that control of the game.
Definitely.
I think that's part of it. It's just like, it's a nice autonomy you have. Maybe that's part of the... I'm going to jump all the way back to what we were talking about earlier. Part of the political radicalization of this game is just the autonomy you have over your actions. A game that presumes that your actions can affect the world.
And even, like, with this game, especially, your autonomy extends to, like, you could take the risk of going to a place that you're not actually ready for.
Yeah.
You could run away from fights the whole time, heal up between, and try to get to, say, Rimmeldar to get keys.
Yes.
And try to get stuff earlier than you're supposed to.
Yep.
A lot of these older games have that kind of thing, sort of sequence breaking by taking on risk or by
it's a risk reward
doing something super unconventional.
I guess, too, the thing is, like, imagine this whole world is stacked against you, but you have control over it. You know what I mean? That's an experience that most people don't have, I feel like.
Yeah, definitely.
The level of control you have over your life.
Yeah, that's part of what makes it an especially pleasing form of escapism, is that you have... It is a threatening world just like the real one, except this is a world where you have a complete control over what risks you're exposed to.
Imagine metaphorically, too, what's empowering here is perseverance. Not, your specialness or your unique skill, even. Unlike, it's just commitment and endurance. I don't know. I find that's fairly unique.
And commitment and endurance are consistently rewarded in this game.
Exactly.
Whereas, even in real life, that doesn't happen all the time.
No.
Hopefully we will be rewarded for consistency and endurance in playing all the Final Fantasies, including this game, which is not actually a Final Fantasy.
I don't know that I mentioned it, but it's one of my it's my gaming bucket list.
To play every Final Fantasy?
Every Final Fantasy, at least in the main series. Since unlike Dragon Warrior, Final Fantasy 4 was kind of my early introduction into the genre. It's been kind of like, that was the imagination launching point for me.
Yeah, I could see that.
Glimpses of it on a friend's console. It was just like my mind exploding, kind of,
Right. It is strange for me is that, like, this is one of my earliest gaming experiences, but then I didn't really play a lot of JRPGs until I was a teenager.
Yeah.
Like, I started playing on the NES when I was 6 years old, and from then on, it was mostly like just action games, platforming games, and, N64, and all these games that weren't like this at all. And it wasn't until, like, Final Fantasy X that I started, playing RPGs again.
Shit. I want to talk more about that, but I'll be right back.
Alright.
Temporary break. Fantastic Fancy.
Welcome back.
Oh man, so much has changed since I've been gone.
I know, right? Look, I'm getting this treasure again.
Oh man.
It's a thrill a minute.
It is. I love this, man.
It's good.
I'm really hella into this. Look at our G's, though. We have 3,000 G's.
Yeah, we can go buy that armor.
We can.
Might as well go do that.
It's nice.
This is not your Call of Duty.
It's not.
Although we felt the call
Of
fantasy.
Call of COF.
Whenever
Excuse me?
I hear an acronym COF, I think of Cathedral of Flame from Guild Wars.
Whoa,
I
never
believe.
played it. Never played a Call of Duty game, actually.
Not even a campaign?
Never played one, ever.
That's weird.
Never in my entire existence.
That's really strange. Like, I can't say that I've played much in the way of modern Call of Duties. I have played the campaigns of 2 and 3, and I believe I played the campaign of 2 on Veteran, like a boss.
Nope, never.
They're interesting games for shooters, especially the older ones. I don't know a ton about the modern ones and their campaigns. I know they're mostly known for being multiplayer games, but like the older ones had this weird sort of mechanical conceit in their campaigns where it's like you're going through these levels and there's dudes shooting at you,
right?
And often they just spawn infinitely, and the whole thing is that you shoot enough of them that you can safely move forward, and then the game knows where you are and stops spawning enemies quite so close, and they spawn further away, and like that's how you just move forward. Especially in the World War II ones, which were I think 2 and 3.
Dang, man!
Is that it's just it's like an endless
stream.
Yeah, until you decide to pony up and move up and try to take a new position. And so on playing on Veteran, where getting shot a couple times kills you, it was often just like, okay, this is where the enemies are. I'm going to shoot them, and then quickly run up like 3 feet in front of me to a different half wall.
It's kind of a resource, man.
Yeah.
In and of itself.
And like making sure that you were in the right position, and so you learn from your mistakes over and over.
Interesting. Huh.
Yeah, I don't know. Those games are interesting to look back on. I don't know how much in common the modern ones have with that, especially in their campaign mode.
I remember the Brainy Gamer even talking about some of the modern campaigns in some of those games, though.
I remember watching a video of someone playing one of the more modern ones. I think it was like Black Ops 2, and how they could play the entire first level without shooting a bullet, which is...
that's so cool. I love that option.
No, it's not like that. It's because the AI partners are so good and so strong that they just kill all the enemies that you don't have to do anything.
I was thinking like Dishonored style.
No, you just walk. And everyone around you is shooting at stuff, and you don't have to. It seemed very lame. I don't know.
Man,
playing a game without actually playing it at all.
Yeah, that's absolutely not what I was thinking.
Yeah.
That's why I've been interested in the Twine games lately, because their approach to design is so much different.
Remix.
Whoa. It's not violence based.
Yeah.
Fascinating. I mean,
which is true of most types of adventures. I feel like, because it's often not about violence.
I mean I get that the violence is kind of abstract here, but...
Yeah, it's definitely not directly represented.
It's more the implications of it.
And you can kind of imagine, I have this hand axe, I cleave this slime in twain.
Yeah. Exactly. It posits a specific moral universe here. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
But I think it privileges kind of the wonder that you experience discovering it more and surviving in it more than it does. Yeah, full plate.
Full upgrades. Alright. It also means we're relatively close to leveling up. What are we at? 2681, so 2900.
What's our defense at, yo?
Oh, I didn't think to look at the before and after. Defense power is 51. Yeah, we're getting pretty strong.
I guess my open-ended question as we pursue the rest of Dragon Warrior is, I don't think there's anything, inherently wrong with this approach. The abstract kind of power, you can become more powerful gameplay. But is there an alternative to a game like this that isn't predicated on, I don't know. It sounds silly to say it, but is there an alternative that isn't predicated on power over the rest of the characters in the game? Because this is a game about, the fundamental mechanic is violent, in that it's exerting power over other creatures in the game. It seems silly because I get that a lot of games are like that, but I don't know what the alternative could be.
I mean, where it has the same mechanical trappings?
I'm not even sure. I mean, maybe the same world and situation, but what's an alternate approach that might generate new completely different mechanics potentially. You know what I mean? Like an alternate, universe.
A fantasy world with antagonists.
Yes, say it's the same thing. Like, say the Dragon Lord has been ravaging the Earth, but your mechanic is not necessarily slaughtering everything in sight.
It sounds like the immediate example that comes to mind is Reciteer.
Item shop?
Yeah, it's where you are the item shop owner.
But who are you selling items to?
To the warriors.
Yeah, but what if? Oh, let's say there's no warriors though. What's an alternative to fighting? That could be a resolution mechanic though.
I'm not sure.
You know what I mean? That's what I'm asking. I'm just trying to envision a different mechanical universe for a game like this.